Hey everyone, today I'm sharing a summary on a book titled The Psychology of Money. This was an easy read, pretty short read, or listen I guess. I think it was around 4 hours or so. And I find myself thinking about the attitudes and all the information around money over and over again. And it has come up again and again in different conversations I've had in the last couple of weeks. I finished this a couple of weeks ago. Haven't gotten around to recording my summary, but I can't believe how much this has influenced me. So it was a fascinating listen. A lot of good points that the author makes, and it really all has to do with how we think about money and wealth. The author says that financial success is not a hard science. It is a soft skill where the way that you behave is much more important than what you actually know. And that soft skill is called the psychology of money. The book starts out by talking about how Americans spend more money on lottery tickets than they do on movies, sporting events, video games, and books, all combined. And who buys them? The poorest in the U.S. Americans spend an average of $412 per year on lottery tickets. That is 4 times the amount than those in the highest income bracket. And 40% of Americans, all the while, 40% of Americans cannot come up with $400 in the event of an emergency. So for people who have been around money for a lot of their life, these types of numbers might sound a little bit incredulous to them, but it makes perfect sense to the people who are spending this money, because nobody is crazy when it comes to money. People have attitudes and ideas, and their actions reflect these things based on the worldview of money that they were raised with. If you grew up without a lot of money, then lottery tickets may very well be your one perceived shot of hope that you have in your life. It's your one way to get ahead, and it gives you hope. So the author is very clear here to not judge people based on their decisions with money, that all of our decisions are based on our past experiences. Success is the result of small things done repeatedly over a long period of time. Sounds like a book I just finished a summary on, The Slight Edge, right? Same, very similar theme. The book talks about Warren Buffett, and now he is not nearly the best financial investor out there. There's a lot of people who have way outperformed Warren Buffett, but his skill is investing. He's good at it, but really his secret is time. If he had stopped all of his work at retirement age, he'd be a nobody. None of us would have ever heard of him. But his success is in the repeated actions over and over again. I mean, the majority of his wealth happened after retirement age. And he's been doing it for a long time. He began his investing at the age of 10. Getting money and keeping money are 2 completely different skills. A lot of people are good at getting money. It's much more difficult to keep money. Bill Gates said that success is a lousy teacher. He said that it seduces successful people into thinking that they can't lose. And on the other hand, it does the opposite. It'll also teach people who are unsuccessful that they will always lose. And Bill Gates said that you have to acknowledge that luck can also bring you success. He was fortunate enough where when he was growing up to be attending a college, one of the few colleges in the nation that had the foresight and the funds to buy a computer for people to use. And he spent a ridiculous amount of time on there. And I mean, he has openly acknowledged that there's no way Microsoft would exist if not for him being in that exact situation. And so he says a lot of the time, luck can make a big difference. The book talks a lot about how many people simply can't be satisfied with enough. The book talks about Bernie Madoff. He actually had an incredibly successful and legitimate business where he'd made millions and millions of dollars, but it was never enough for him. He threw it all away because he wanted more. He kept pushing on and on. It was never enough for him, and that's what ended up destroying him. There's no reason to risk what you have, and there's no reason to risk what you have and need for something that you don't have and need. That's the takeaway there. The hardest financial goal is to get the goalpost to stop moving. I was actually in a conversation with someone who repeated that same sentiment, and he hadn't even read this book yet, but he talked about it with his own business, about how this was a difficult challenge with his business where the goalpost was continually moving back further and further. Farther and farther? I don't know. One of the two. But modern capitalism is very good at increasing wealth, but also at increasing envy. And happiness is simply, if you want to write a math formula for happiness, it equals results minus expectations. Results minus expectations. And what you have left over, that is your happiness. One of the most critical sources of happiness is time freedom. It's about what you do with your time. It's not about what you earn, what you buy, what you have, or how you compare to others around you. That's how a lot of people think, but that's not how it works. The most powerful way to raise your savings is to raise your humility. There's way too much effort put into the side of the financial equation that deals with accumulating money and not nearly enough on saving money. When you define savings as the gap between your ego and your income, you realize why many people have decent incomes save so little. People with enduring financial success have a tendency to not give a damn what other people think about them. Savings are created when you spend less, and you spend less when you desire less, and you desire less when you care less about what other people think about you. Many people save only when there is a specific goal in mind, but saving for saving's sake really should be enough for us. Experience frequently leads to overconfidence. Experience in specific events does not necessarily qualify you to know what will happen next. And in fact, it rarely does. For example, today, few investors are experienced with rising interest rates because that hasn't happened in 40 years. People who count cards at casinos playing blackjack are very aware that no matter how much the odds are in their favor, they might still lose. They have the humility to know this, and they will never bet the house, no matter how much the odds are in their favor. They know very well that at any moment they could still lose. There's still a chance of this. Market volatility for stocks is a fee. It is not a fine. And we need to think of it that way. Few investors are fine saying to themselves, I'm cool with losing 20% of my portfolio due to market volatility. But market returns have never been free, and they never will be. People need to understand that if you're going to be on the winning side, you're going to be on the losing side quite a bit too. And then the author's closing advice was to go out of your way to find humility when things go right, and to show forgiveness and compassion when they don't. Respect the power of luck and risk, and you'll have a better chance of focusing on things that you can actually control. Time is the most powerful force in investing. Become okay with a lot of things going wrong. You can be wrong half the time, and you can still make a fortune. Always measure how you've done by looking at your entire portfolio, not individual investments. And then the last point is to be nicer and less flashy to everybody. Nobody is as impressed with your stuff as you are. A lot of people will, I remember the story about the car, how he talked about how he always wanted to have this nice sports car, and he thought that he'd get respect from this. And one day he realized that nobody's looking at him. When he pulls up and gets out of his fancy sports car, people are looking at the car. They're not paying any attention to him. Most people are after respect and admiration, but you are much more likely to get those from people with humility and kindness than with anything else. So that sums it up. Great book. This is probably one that I'm going to be listening to on an annual basis. I'm sure I'll be repeating this many times. Yep. Excellent book. Again, The Psychology of Money. Thanks for watching.